Hello my dear subscribers, I'm pleased to welcome you to my YouTube channel dedicated to author stories. Enjoy listening.
Where did they come from? Arthur stared intently at the young woman and boy standing along the road, dressed in worn-out jackets and shoes. The child's face was smudged, and he tightly held the hand of the exhausted woman with a pale face. The stranger waved her hand for Arthur to stop. "Hello, please help however you can," she said. Assessing the situation, the man simply nodded and replied, "If you have nowhere to go, come on in. You can stay with me for now." They didn't make him wait long, and soon all three of them were silently heading towards an old cottage settlement where Arthur had a small cozy house. He had built it for his wife and children once, but after a painful divorce, he moved to the cottage, leaving the apartment to his ex-spouse. Being alone, he had tidied up the house, installed water and gas, and built a gazebo with a canopy. The house was very warm and cozy because Arthur was accustomed not only to working with tools, but also to keeping his living space clean. For several years, he had been living alone, occasionally meeting his ex-wife and children. After the divorce, Arthur never remarried, although he had some short-lived relationships. He didn't particularly trust chance encounters. However, the looks of desperation in the eyes of these two wanderers were so evident that the man himself offered them to stay with him. The woman introduced herself as Albina, and she introduced the boy as Harry. The little one initially trembled from the cold, but after warming up, he grew weary and fell asleep. The woman held him tenderly, keeping his head from accidentally hitting something. Upon arriving at the settlement, Arthur slowed down near the house with a wrought iron fence. "This is the place. Get out here," he said. The woman and the boy got out of the cabin and stood by the gate. Albina wanted to help open it, but Arthur waved her off. "No need, I'll handle it myself. You better go inside, you're all blue from the cold." The woman caught the key Arthur tossed to her and opened the door. The boy clapped his hands with joy. "Nanny, are we going to sleep in beds tonight, right? It's so nice here." Something tugged at Arthur's heart. The poor child was happy about sleeping in beds. Where did they usually spend their nights then? Meanwhile, Albina briskly took charge. "Harry, let's go wash your face and hands. Look at how dirty we are from the road." She looked at Arthur questioningly, who stood silently in the hallway. Understanding her gaze, the man gestured towards the bathroom. "There, you'll find some towels too. If you want, you can take a bath." Albina blushed with embarrassment and joy. "Can we?" "Thank you." She went to the bathroom with the boy. 15 minutes later, Harry reappeared with wet hair sticking in different directions. He smelled of strawberry soap. The little one frowned as he squeezed into his old clothes. They hadn't been washed in a while and had a strong odor. The man smirked but didn't say anything. Among the things he hadn't mustered the courage to throw away were his son's clothes from daycare and his ex-wife's. Descending to the basement, Arthur brought out a large box of clothes. "Let's see what we can find for you." When Albina emerged from the shower, she was surprised when Arthur handed her a bag. "You can change into these. Don't worry, the clothes are clean." The woman gladly swapped her old clothes for the new ones. Harry strutted around in dark jeans, a colorful warm hoodie, and a knitted vest. Just in case, their new acquaintance washed their worn-out outfits and hung them up to dry. Being a diligent host, Arthur attended to the food. Unexpectedly, Albina approached him and offered her help. "I feel really uncomfortable that we've burdened you like this. Can I assist you with cooking?" Together, they prepared a simple dinner. Harry ate until he was full, and he immediately succumbed to an unstoppable sleep. Albina put him to bed and began clearing the table. When everything was done, the man noticed Albina, covered in beads of sweat, heavily sinking onto the couch. "Are you feeling stuffy?" Arthur sympathetically asked the woman, handing her paper towels. She dabbed her forehead and forced a smile. "No, I'm fine, don't worry." After a pause, the woman spoke thoughtfully. "It's just my illness. It seems I don't have much time left." Arthur felt uneasy hearing those words spoken in a distant tone, as if Albina was talking about someone else, not herself. She understood his reaction. "Does it sound surreal to you?" "It did to me too, but then I got used to it. I realized that everything comes with a price, and my time to pay is approaching." "Arthur, you are a kind person, it's evident in your eyes. Not to mention that you took US in without even asking any questions." Arthur wanted to say something, but the woman signaled him not to interrupt. "I'm terminally ill, and I know my days are numbered, but it pains me to think that there will be no one to take care of Harry. I won't ask you to adopt him. However, if anything happens to me, could you take him to the address I'll give you?" She wrote down a name and an address on a piece of paper. Arthur looked thoughtfully at the writing. It was a journey of at least 300 kilometers. "Who is he to you?" "A ward," Albina replied curtly. Getting up, she looked around. "I'm sorry, I feel completely drained in this heat. Where can I lie down?" Arthur directed her to the bed opposite the one where Harry was peacefully napping. Albina lay down, covered herself, and instantly fell asleep. Arthur spent the whole night awake, thinking about the person he had picked up on the road. Late autumn, and both of them were dressed quite lightly. Their shoes were clearly leaking. The boy had wet feet. After thinking it over, the man went back to the basement to search for a suitable pair for Harry. And if he was lucky, he might find something from his ex-wife's collection of footwear. She always had good taste and took care of her things. In the morning, when Albina woke up and tried to get up, her legs didn't respond. She grew even paler and started to feel feverish. Arthur became genuinely scared and called a familiar doctor, who advised against self-medication and recommended taking the woman to the hospital. In the hospital room, Albina's condition slightly improved, but soon the fever and pains throughout her body returned. After a brief examination, the doctors pulled Arthur aside and delivered the news. "We're afraid we have unsettling news for you. The patient is in critical condition. It's possible she won't make it." "That bad?" Arthur asked, keeping an eye on Harry, who sat in front of the hospital room door, observing the people passing by with an unusual seriousness. "Yes, we just wanted to prepare you for the worst." Arthur sank into a chair and looked at the boy. He continued to study everyone passing by, not letting any employees, visitors, or patients escape his attention. Suddenly, the boy jumped up and ran over to Arthur. "Uncle, when can we pick up my nanny? We'll leave with her, right?" "Yes, probably." Arthur couldn't bring himself to tell the truth. Harry returned to his chair, but soon grew tired of sitting that way. "Why are we here? Let's go home, okay?" he grumbled. Realizing he had to say something, Arthur took the child's hand and led him away. "Did you see that the nanny, Albina, is getting an injection right now? She needs to have many injections and then take a whole bunch of big pills. She told us to go home. She'll stay in the hospital a little longer." Harry didn't argue and went along with his new acquaintance. He trusted Arthur and shared along the way that he and his nanny had to go somewhere. He mentioned having a grandfather he couldn't remember. The next day, Albina's condition worsened, and Arthur realized that the inevitable was about to happen. And it did. The following night. The woman was no longer there. Among the belongings found with her, Arthur discovered a locket on a thin leather strap. Harry put it around his neck. Nanny said I should always wear this with me. After burying Albina, Arthur was left with Harry, who didn't want to talk to anyone and withdrew into himself. Realizing he needed to do something to prevent the child from completely losing touch with the world, Arthur suggested, "Harry, the nanny said we should go on a trip together. She even left us a map. Shall we go?" The boy looked at him skeptically. "Is it far from here? Are we going just like that or to someone?" "I don't know how it will turn out," Arthur admitted. He had no idea how his journey would unfold and decided to drive his own car. He had no slightest clue whom he was supposed to take the child to. If Albina wasn't Harry's mother but his nanny, then where were his mom and dad? Where were other relatives, if there were any at all? Arthur felt his head overheating from the abundance of questions for which he didn't yet have any answers. The journey took several hours. Along the way, they made several stops because Harry wanted to compare the map with the route they were driving. The boy happily realized that the map and the planned route matched. The nanny said we should be able to read maps. But I don't remember letters well. "Uncle Arthur, can you read? Can you read maps?" Harry babbled as they drove past cottages and high-rise buildings along the highway, small stores with food and other necessities for the road. Seeing a sign with the name of a town, Arthur said contentedly to himself, "So, we've arrived. Now we need to find that house mentioned in Albina's note." He parked the car near a small store and went inside. Harry shouted to him, "Uncle Arthur, buy me a chocolate bar, please." "Okay, I'll buy it." The man smiled and turned to the middle-aged woman behind the counter. "Good evening. Can I have a chocolate bar for the boy and a pack of cigarettes for myself?" He tossed a large bill to Harry. The saleswoman appraised him and placed the requested items on the counter. "Can you tell me where this is?" Arthur pointed to the address written by Albina. The saleswoman widened her eyes. "What? Why do you need to go there? What's wrong?" The man was surprised. "Oh, plenty of things." The saleswoman replied fervently. "There's a person living there that you better not meet one-on-one. A big shot around here. You can't say a word against him." After listening and thanking the saleswoman, Arthur got into his car and drove along the path indicated by the woman. It took him some time to reach the right place. He had to drive around the city a bit. Soon, the car stopped near a large 3-story mansion behind a solid metal fence. Strange, Arthur rang the gate bell. Within a moment, the gate swung open, and he drove into a wide courtyard paved with cobblestones. A tall, solidly built man in his 50s hurried toward Arthur, dressed in an expensive suit. He limped slightly and addressed Arthur somewhat irritably. "Who are you? What do you want?" Arthur pointed to his car. "There's a boy in there. His name is Harry. Looks about 5 years old. His nanny asked me to bring him here if anything happened to her." As Arthur spoke, the man's face turned from pale to crimson. Arthur even got scared, thinking his interlocutor might have a stroke right there. "A boy? Nanny?" The man croaked. Waving his hand, he called out to someone. "Hey, you, come to me." 2 individuals dressed in typical private security uniforms came forward. Pointing his finger at Arthur, the man hissed, "Check him in the car too. Something smells fishy." The security guards took Harry by the hand and he immediately rushed toward Arthur. Grasping the man's leg, the child kept his frightened eyes fixed on him. "Uncle Arthur, what are we doing here? Let's go back and look for the treasure in another place." The stranger ordered both of them to enter the house. He studied Harry's face attentively, but from his expression, Arthur could tell that the man was filled with doubts. Instructing the security to take the child to another part of the house, the owner turned to Arthur. "Judging by your face, you truly don't understand what's going on." "That's right," Arthur admitted, feeling like a complete idiot. "And why is that?" the stranger asked insidiously. Instead of answering, Arthur handed him a note written by Albina's hand. "The witch," he whispered, recognizing the handwriting. "It seems you really encountered that creature. Where is she now? Why did you bring the child alone?" "Albina passed away," Arthur calmly replied. "I found them about a week ago on the highway. It was raining, turning into snow, and they were lightly dressed. I brought them to my place, and in the morning, she started feeling unwell. She died in the hospital. The doctor said she had a severe illness. When we arrived at my place, Albina wrote down the address and asked me to take Harry there if something happened to her. I buried her in our cemetery, and, well, Harry and I are here." Quite an interesting story. The man scratched his chin and without preamble ordered, "Bring the child here." When Harry approached, the man signaled him to come closer. "Boy, let's talk. Who are you? Who is this man?" After Harry's answers, the owner made sure that his guest was telling the truth. Unexpectedly, the child took off a locket from his neck and handed it to the man. "The nanny gave me this. She told me to give it to the mustached uncle in the big house." The owner had a lush growth of hair above his upper lip. Apparently, he was proud of his mustache, perfectly groomed hair by hair. Upon seeing the locket, the man's face changed. "The flash drive. That's where it went. I've been looking for it for so long." Arthur didn't understand anything. It only now dawned on him that he had become a witness to something strange, something he never expected. In a patient tone, the owner demanded, "Fetch my tablet, it's there, on my desk in the study." After a minute, the flash drive was inserted into the port, and Arthur saw an unimaginable number of files on the screen. With confident hand movements, the owner found the ones he needed. His face brightened. Thank God, everything was in place. Without saying a word, he left, instructing the security not to take their eyes off the unexpected guests. Harry sat next to Arthur and whispered softly, "Who is that? When are we going home?" "I don't know," the man whispered back, holding the boy close to him. "We'll see." They had to wait for at least half an hour when the mustached owner reappeared at the living room entrance. There was a bewildered smile on his face as he addressed the boy. "Harry, do you remember me? Can you recognize me? It's me, your silly grandpa Victor. You used to call me Vitus when you were little. Don't you remember?" Unexpectedly, the man began wiping tears from his eyes while still looking at the bewildered Harry. He sang in a poorly controlled voice, Chick Chick, your little birdie has come to peck at a worm that's keeping you from sleeping." Harry couldn't take his eyes off the owner's face. His face grew pale, and he jumped up. "Grandpa, is this your grandson?" Arthur whispered, watching the man embrace the child and burst into tears. "Grandson. A grandson I had given up hope of seeing again." After the emotions subsided, the man turned to Arthur. "I apologize for making you wait so long, but I never thought I would see my grandson again. It's been 3 years, and we lost all trace of the boy." Seating Arthur across from him, the man began his story. "I started a business right after the crisis. You can imagine what a time it was. My wife got involved too, and by that time, our son, our only heir, was growing up. Well, While my wife and I worked hard, he indulged himself in everything, living a lavish lifestyle. Yes, and we weren't any better. We wanted to show off how cool we were. We overdid it. Competitors caused an accident for my wife, and she became bedridden. She passed away 7 years ago. My son decided to spite me after her death and brought home some dubious girl. I had nothing against it, but she was just too vulgar, you know. In the end, instead of taking over his father's business, the heir spiraled downward. He got involved with drugs. His wife left him, leaving him with a young son. To take care of Harry, he hired a girl named Albina. She cared for the child tenderly, as if he were her own. Albina had a poor mother and brother who she supported with her nanny salary, but she couldn't afford much more than that. Apparently, word got out, and they began promising Albina the world. My competitors figured out before I did how to knock me out of the business. The man sighed heavily. They knew Jesse wouldn't be of any use. And that's how it turned out. He's still in rehab, not wanting anything. But Harry, my hope, was a juicy target for them. The competitors persuaded Albina to help them kidnap little Harry. The girl behaved impeccably from the start, and Victor had no reason not to trust her. She spent all day taking care of the child, who essentially grew up without parental care and affection. Playtime with Grandpa Victor was rare enough. But the little one liked it when Grandpa sang him different funny songs. After that, the child would fall asleep on his big soft belly, and Albina would just have to put him in his crib. The first attempt to kidnap the child happened on a weekend when she asked to take him for a walk unaware. The unsuspecting grandpa allowed her to go beyond the mansion's limits, but the appearance of a new private security team foiled the criminals. However, a week later, Albina received a transfer of a large sum of money and realized she had to seize her chance. She took the child out for another walk and never returned. When the girl called her employers, they just laughed. "You're asking for too much, kid. Bring the child here, or you'll regret it." Albina thought about going back, but after the first call to the owner, she realized she was in for a rough time. Victor went mad from what happened and yelled at her, calling her names that almost made her sick. "Let me tell you this, if you dare to set foot inside my house again, don't expect any mercy. The moment you show up, I'll order you to be torn apart, you bitch. And I'll start with your family if you even dare to contact them. I have both of them under my control." Frightened by her actions and Victor's reaction, Albina decided to run away. She knew she would need money and quickly withdrew the funds from her card at an ATM before discarding it. She knew the card would be traced, and she didn't want to give them a reason to find it before she was ready. First, she went to a cheap clothing store and bought clothes for herself and Harry. In disguise, they boarded a train and left the city. Albina saw on the news and in print publications that she was being sought after. However, the fear of endangering her mother and brother was too strong. Albina herself hardly remembered the places she had been, often spending nights as a vagabond at train stations and homeless shelters along the way if they were available. The years of wandering didn't go in vain for Albina. The boy grew rapidly, and she instinctively took care of his nutrition. They lived in a rented apartment for several months. But soon, the money ran out, and Albina realized she had to come up with something while traveling across the country with the growing Harry, who had changed significantly during that time. Albina began to consider returning home. She simply wanted to leave the child at the doorstep of the house, but was afraid to face the formidable owner. Especially since Victor had a less than stellar reputation. If he promised something, he would follow through. Due to constant stress, Albina began to experience health problems more frequently. She was afraid to visit clinics, thinking that she might encounter Victor's people in any of them. This way, she irretrievably lost the most valuable resource, time. "That's our Santa Barbara for you," Grandpa Harry summed up. "Thank you for not leaving them both on the street. Now, I'm not alone, and I won't torment myself with the thought of not seeing my only grandson. I owe you a lot for my grandson." When Arthur was leaving and declined the offer to stay overnight, Victor handed him a small leather briefcase as a farewell gift. "It's just a small part of what I owe you for saving and returning my boy. May God bless you, and may joy come to your doorstep." Thanking him, Arthur left. When he arrived home, he discovered bank documents in an envelope with his name on them. "Wow! Where did all this come from?" the man whispered, seeing the amount in his account balance on his user profile. Clearly, the former businessman had some significant connections, considering how easily he opened an account in Arthur's name. After brief contemplation, Arthur dialed his ex-wife's number. "Hey, it's me. How are you doing? Ellie, give me your card number. I want to make a transfer to you. You can decide how to use it. When can we meet?"